Good job, everyone. Peace and blessings. Can you see the screen? See me? Hear me?
Nee, Seba, Hatep.
Hatep Dua. So Dua to those of you who were able to join. I know we're having sort of a little bit of a awkward schedule for the meeting, so I do appreciate your joining. And so we'll go ahead and begin. So this is part 36 of the frustrations on the spiritual path. A KMTTV television series pop-up review with myself, Seba, and we are exploring the topic frustration in the spiritual path and overcoming frustration in the spiritual path, looking at 8 submissions from aspirants who shared their perspectives and their experience with this topic. So tonight we're going to continue with aspirant Sarah's what he had shared about frustrations in the spiritual path. So I don't know if we'll conclude it, but hopefully we'll get through a lot of it. So with that, I'll just begin. And if anything is in chat, anyone wants to say anything, interrupt, you're welcome to. I can't really see the chat so well, so someone can let me know if anyone posts there. Sitting with your spine straight. Focus in the abdomen and the breath. You can deep inhalations and exhalations. Focus in on your heart center, and you can, if you'd like, bring your hand to your heart center, or just focus in that area. Feel it to be the center of your being, your abneter, your divinity within the heart. The soul, Asar. Pure existence, pure consciousness, pure awareness. Abiding joy, bliss. Abiding peace, Hatep. Abide unconditional love, Mur. The nature of serenity, Good. The nature of light, Aku. Take 5 deep breaths into your heart, and as you take them into your heart, we'll repeat. Duasar, Unafernatra, Duasar Herabdu. Duasar Nebjeta, Duasar Sutunhe, Nukasar Unafer Netera, Nukasar Heratu, Nukasar Nebjeta, Nukasar Sutunhe. Duasar Unafer Netera, Duasar Heratu, Duasar Nebjeta, Duasar Sutunhe. Nukasar Unafer Netera, Nukasar Heratu, Nukasar Nebjeta, Nukasar Sutunhe. Duasar Unafer Netera, Duasar Heratu, Duasar Nebjeta, Duasar Sutunhe. Nukasar Unafer Netera, Nukasar Heratu, Nukasar Nebjeta, Nukasar Sutunhe. Duasar Unafer Netera, Duasar Heratu, Duasar Nebjeta, Duasar Sutunhe. Nukasar Unafer Netera, Nukasar Heratu, Nukasar Nebjeta, Nukasar Sutunhe. Visualizing a light within the heart center, the light of soul, the light of enlightenment, the light of spirit, the light of virtues, and feel this spiritual virtue is just flowing out from that heart center. Pick one virtue, one quality that resonates with you, and hold it in that heart center and just breathe into it deeply. Recognizing that it is innate to your soul, to you, your essence. It is not something you're trying to cultivate in reality. The personality is cultivating it, but you, Asar, soul, these qualities emanate from you as fragrance of your personality, and allow it to just flow into every aspect of your personality, every aspect of your sense of being, radiating that spiritual quality. Checking in with the face and the body. Is it in harmony with the essence of that spiritual quality? Is it relaxed? Does it have a gentle smile on the face? Is it feeling inner peace? Whereas in the aspiration, the aspirant Harivi state, we cultivate the virtues and we affirm the virtues. In essence, there's no need to cultivate or to affirm, just to be the virtue. Om tap 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 tap. Dua. So we will jump right in because I think I've given a lot of reviews of what we've done in the past. So today we'll sort of skip that and I will go to slide 21. Except I don't see the numbers here. We've covered a lot of these slides already. So we're doing the submission from Sarah, aspirant Sarah. We've already read them in the past, I think 2 classes ago and the last class. And so I'm probably not going to use the original submission document, but what I prepared slides from to emphasize certain aspects. And so there's going to be a lot of the mystical AI art images that I prepared for this presentation. Why? Because the presentation by aspirant Sarah, when I actually went to it, was very inspirationally. The aspects he highlighted lent itself so much correlation with the stopgap, and then also just with the topic of the frustration. So I felt like the submission was like a little bit like poetry, and so complemented with the art image to sort of drive home, hopefully, the Kemetic teachings when we go to the temples. It's both written and the art, both impact the mind. A picture tells 1,000 words, and so it affects us differently. It causes a different aspect of purification of the heart, of the app, the RU. So I hope you have the capacity to see the images on your device because it's heavy with imagery. So this is the first one we're going to look at. And I have it noted on the top of the image, the critical choice of one's actions. And remember, when we say actions, we tend to think of like doing something. But remember, and this actually lends into Shamsen Abdul's. I didn't do his submission, but he talked about the effect of thought actions, if they're actions and how they impact. And so, yes, there are actions also, there are subtle actions, and according to the teachings. And words also are subtle actions. What we speak, what comes out of our mouth, right speech, right thinking are important, right actions, right thinking, right speech, right actions. Those are all part of the ethical conscience of the Matian precepts. So this is the choice, and I'll show you some of the quotes from aspirant Sarah that relate to this. But this is basically what he shared in one aspect that never had. The concept of our mortality or physicality, that she is in the myth with Set, right? So the mortality gets caught up in the mind body, the physicality, the sense of physicality gets caught up with the ego personality, the mind and the body gets all intertwined with the sense of our physicality. And then when the ego personality is impure, then our physical nature or sense of physicality and the sense of who we are innately, it's all a big mishmash, and it all engages in unrighteous, anma'at, egoistic, shem type of thoughts, words, and deeds. So that's the option that, like most aspirants, prior to really getting serious in the teaching, or previous lifetimes, whichever, have engaged. It's what basically it's the path that occurs in this mystical illusory creation, this world, right? That no one is born wise, as Sage Tahotep says. So we go through lifetimes of this like ignorance and egoism, or physical nature caught up in this ignorant, egoistic way of life. Eat, drink, be merry. Just you know, die, uhamong, die, uhamong, reincarnation. And then At some point, we start to realize there's more to life. We come upon that awareness and we want to discover something greater to life. If there's something meaning, a deeper meaning or expression, we discover the shetau, the hidden mysteries that, yes, that there is. And then we make that turn. We make that turn away from the ego personality and we start to inquire as to our own divine nature. So now our physicality, our sense of physicality is discovering a love, not for the worldly externalized mind and physical nature, but for something deeper, the core essence of being, the heart center, the soul, asar, the abneter, as Sage Amenhotep calls it, and making that turn, making that affirmation, making a decision what they want to reinforce, what they want to cultivate. So that's the critical choice of the spiritual aspirant, and especially the mystical aspirant. And that's this choice and the stopgap method of the seha, the turning away. Which way do we want to turn? So when we turn towards especially the impure set we're talking about here, the ego personality that's impure, that's dull and agitated. Ultimately, also the purified ego personality, but in this phase of the myth, we're not like higher self set, purified set, no problem. Like that aspect of set supports Asar, it's sublimated set, and it supports Asar, supports Cherubim on the throne. But we're talking about the impure aspect of the personality, especially. And so the choice is which way do we want to turn? And it goes back to our precept, an ab, an am abba, not eaten heart my. I have not eaten my heart out with anguish, dejection, jealousy, recrimination, remorse, or envy. So these really heartfelt, deep feelings and emotions and all the thoughts that go with them. Because an aspirant can come into the teachings and feel like, well, I'm just being accountable to myself. I'm just really, I did this wrong. I'm be aware I transgress my I transgress my I'm aware I transgress my and I want to acknowledge it, because if I don't acknowledge it, then you hear me noting, you should hear me stressing the I, right? So if I don't acknowledge it, then I am going to let myself get away with it, and then I will keep repeating it. So then the aspirant keeps repeating the same behavior, keeps getting into these situations with anguish and turmoil and jealousy and dejection and eating one's heart up. And so then they try to put more pressure on themselves and beat themselves up even more. Like, I can't believe I keep doing that. I have to put more pressure on myself. And all of that really, if you notice within your personality, you'll notice that it doesn't really work. Maybe you get like a little bit of a relief here and there, but it's a lot of work and energy and pressure for the result that's not really what you want, which is an alleviation of it, a removal of it. And so that technique is not a very good technique for doing that. So the aspirant can have awareness of the transgression. That's discernment. That's good. That's ethical conscience. Very good. And at the same time, have that faith in oneself to act with wisdom, that bringing the attention and awareness to it is enough. Because whether we get upset about someone else, what we think they're doing to us or what they're not doing to us, or whatever it is, that's in front of the situation, someone else, or our own actions, that Shem is that Seha. It's that turning away from our deeper nature that is Asar, that is unaffected, that can say and affirm. That's why when, after in the judgment scene, the initiate as Asar affirms, I have not eaten my heart with anguish, because there's an aspect of I don't even want to say an aspect, the essence of the aspirant is a sar, and it's unaffected and it's unadulterated. It's not tainted. It doesn't do anything. So both of those things, the aspirant has to reflect in both of those aspects. If you're trying to cultivate the ego personality to act in a righteous way, at the same time, affirm your deeper true essence nature. And if you affirm your deeper true essence nature, you will find that you cannot really beat yourself up. The only way you can beat yourself up, and when I say beat yourself up, I mean just like self-recrimination, self-criticism, all of that, is if you don't acknowledge your Asar nature, the essence of who you are. Again, you can interrupt if you want to add, anyone wants to add anything, any insights, any inspiration, any comments, any corrections. So stop seha, stop turning away from the sar, the soul. So since it's the S word, right, because the S of the stopgap, the S could be stop the seha, that's what we're doing it as. But it could also be stop shem, right? Stop the egoism, stop the forgetfulness of one true self, right? Those are some of our frameworks we're working with. Sakao and Sekamen, remember and don't forget. So we can stop the Sekamen, stop forgetting. We can stop set. It could be that also, stop set. The S could be any of those things. Whatever works for you. But it's stop turning to egoism and agitation. Stop rejecting Asar. Stop rejecting the divine. Stop rejecting your own divine essence. Stop rejecting your own inner wisdom. Stop rejecting the deepest pure essence that you are. That is divine virtues. That is spiritual mystical qualities in the heart. And stop doing that through your actions, through your thoughts, through your words, through your deeds, your feelings, your emotions, all of that. If you don't stop, then that's, instead of ma'at ari, righteous actions, then all of those become an ma'at ari, unrighteous actions. So, look at the image and look at Nebuchadnezzar, right? The choice. Where is your sense of physicality, your body? Where do you want to put your body to do? What do you want this mouth to speak? What do you want these hands to actually do? What do you want your thoughts to think? What do you want your mind, your thoughts to, how do you want it to affect your brain and your physical body? So aspirant Sara submission exert, we said set is that aspect of a human being prone to becoming involved with and exacerbating the desires and egoistic tendencies of the mind. This is known as spiritual ignorance or bondage to the world of time and space, right? So he's referencing, the Asar resurrection myth and the ancient Egyptian Bible, as we call it, that we use for the devotional, well, one of which we use for the devotional worship on Sundays with the devotional worship group, but Sundays at 8:30 in the mornings. That's available for everyone to join, except when we have a hiatus here and there. So the imagery here is this is like really key, the choice, the turning towards the soul. It's like so hard and tough in the beginning. If one has a lot of strong emotions where one does eat one's heart out with them, even if one doesn't have strong emotions, just, as long as the emotions, it'll not like any emotions that when they rise up, they take you away from your virtuous thoughts, your virtuous action. Like you forget about your spirituality. You forget about, you lose it in that moment. And this is what it looks like coming back to it. You have the choice to keep walking the path of intensifying the shem, the agitation, the egoism, the emotional, the distraughtness, or in that moment, turning to Asar, your deeper soul awareness essence. And it's tough, but this is like when we talk about walking on the spiritual path, coming in the spiritual path, this is what it is. It's moment by moment, this choice. Moment by moment, this choice. Because we have a lot of wiring in our brain, nervous system. Like there's habits that create you in the unconscious mind. There's just habits and patterns from the impure set nebehet aspect for lifetimes. So all that wiring is just like, it's like pathways that we can easily, like, if you have a groove in the road, like, you're trying to avoid the groove. Like if you get to the very edge of it, boom, you fall back in, you fall right into the groove. It's just so easy. And now as a mystical aspirant, you're saying, I value the essence of who I am, Asar, the soul. This is what I'm learning. This is what the path is. And I have to make my choice. And however hard it is going to be to tear me away from Shem, this egoistic nature that wants to come out and yell at the person or tell them what I think or tell them how they're wrong and tell them what they did or what they're doing wrong or whatever it is, or correct them or whatever it is. There may be a problem. There may be a problem that has to be resolved. That's not really that's two separate things. We tend to like put them at the same thing, but they're two separate things. One is what is our relationship? We're cultivating our own deeper essence. And we like to think we can't let them get away with it. When we can't let them get away with it, that's where we're seha-ing. Seba Djas word. Seha-ing. That's where we're like not looking to our sorrow, we're turning towards Set, and we're making that choice. And that's really against what we say we want. So we have to start realizing that this is like a big mystical school, and we have put ourselves on the mystical path. This is like a big like mystical school with all grades, mix of all levels of aspirants. Really, some know they are, and some don't know they are. And the divine will mix and match like a pieces of a puzzle. Who, this one needs this and this one needs to learn that lesson. Okay, I'm going to put the two of them together. Some really heavy mystic math going on there. Ma'at, the pun ma'at. So yeah, so it's always like an aspirant is being cultivated, tested. So that person before you that is doing exactly what you think they're doing to you and how they're doing it to you or whatever they're doing that is unrighteous, they're there before you to have you make this choice. Really to test your heart and see, like, is it really? Do you want to be on the mystical path? Maybe you just want to be in a general spiritual path, like, just whatever, like a low grade spirituality. You don't have to really, you can, do worldly things and act in worldly ways and no big deal. Just do a few yoga classes over here, a little meditation here. That's fine. You can go do that. But if you're saying you want to be in the mystical path, then you're going to be tested. Because you have to discover also that you're Nebuchadnezzar, right? Asar is Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, Lord of Limits. I was going to put that here. The glyphs, Lord of Limits, like which means limitless, boundless. Like when we look at the hieroglyphs, the names, the cartouches, we know that when they put the name of the royal personality not in a cartouche, but what we call uncircumscribed, we know it relates to that royal personality has discovered their soul Asar nature, their Abneter, to be one with Nebuchadnezzar, limitless. So what seems to be limited, everybody's looking at the royal personality and just seeing this like limited personality, but internally they become limited. And so these like little challenges, these limitations, it's to let us know that we can overcome them. We can overcome frustration. We can overcome anger. We can overcome these negative qualities. Why? Because the essence of who we are resonates and emanates with the, positive spiritual qualities. but it's cultivation, right? Just the same way, like, we know how the RU works. It doesn't work um, just by, sometimes you can have an aha moment and something just, an RU just like melts away. But oftentimes the RU has to be reinforced to become a habit, the positive RU. It has the physical body has to engage in the righteous action, the Ma'ari, so that the nerves and the whole nervous system and the brain and everything is involved with a wiring of the machinery, so that when the mind thinks it, then the body will do it. And that takes time to get all the neurons to interconnect, even in the physical body, to make it happen. Like what they say, 21 days or something to get a habit or something. I don't know if the date is exact, but just to give the idea that it takes time. And some of these RUs that have been there for lifetimes, it doesn't take lifetimes to get, well, it does. There have been lifetimes, but it doesn't mean like that if you still do it, it'll take lifetimes. Just the way, like, when, darkness could be in a room for a long time, but when you flip on the light, it vanishes instantaneously. So the process of cultivation, spiritual cultivation, the meditation, the whole integrashedi, it's working to reduce this RU burden, the negative RU burden especially. So the critical choice, your actions, what do you want to affirm? Do you want to know correctly? Or do you want to, like, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm I can't let that person get away. Did you see what they did to me? Like, no. Again, there's still, I'm not saying there's not a problem externally or that has to be resolved, or even internally with yourself, with your own personality, that has to be resolved. The practical solution or resolution has to occur. But the issue at this moment, making that choice, is not about the practical resolution. It's about the forgetfulness. And it's about the habituation. I think Seba, I think it was not a class for it was like a clergy class, but I think he used the word like like a degradation. Like it's the habit of like the mental emotional degradation within the personality, that of thinking that that anything but the soul can really make you happy. It's like such a misunderstanding. So that's what we call it, the ignorance and egoism. And that's key, key understanding, and we're going to get to it in a little while why it's key. So turn towards what is imminent, right? Turn towards imba panetter. You take a moment again and just recognize, right, what the teachings are telling us. The teachings are telling us that everything is consciousness. Sometimes I will like say, like, everything is, if you can't think of everything, is think of everything as atoms. Let's take the quantum physics type of way. Everything is just atoms, just these tiny little, I'm not going to get very scientific about what atoms and all that, if they're real and not real and all the empty space within them, but just little tiny dots. Energy, everything is energy. Homogeneous energy. And if we go beneath that energy, everything is just consciousness. Homogeneous consciousness. And then through these bodies that have these particular senses, it gives us a little bit of a window into a specific aspect of the consciousness. But that window, it's so magical that it's based on our RU. According to our RU shapes our perceptions and how we are going to perceive that consciousness, how we're going to receive it and perceive it and react to it. This is why, especially, it's illusory, even more so, because our RU is generating the world that we live in, or RU bubble, so to speak. And all the time, it's just imba panetter, just consciousness. Like if we close our eyes, it makes it easier, but then if we open our eyes or if we hear noises, it's still the same imba panetter. And we are the imba panetter. We are that in the presence of the divine. We are that divine presence that we are in the presence of. And so the turning towards the divine, it's not even a heartbeat away. The I think I refer to the hymn of Amun Ra, the Unut, the like a a moment that like doesn't even exist, like just a Shem's bucket. What is the definition of it again? The like a like I want to say a transcendental type moment. It's just like a
I think
such
it's an eternal moment, Seba.
knee. I think that's one word for it, but it's just a moment that is so tiny. Like it says, Ra makes this journey like in this moment. It's just such a tiny fraction, and that's the same fraction. Like I mean, uh, if you forget that you're soul, and then all of a sudden like it comes into your mind, and this is just we're talking about the level of aspiration awareness, not self-realization, not enlightenment at this point, but the cultivation towards that. But just to remember, just in that moment, remember that you're soul. How long did it take? Can you say how many seconds or a 30th of the second? Like, right? It's infinitesimal. It's like it doesn't even exist because you never left yourself really. So making the tough but critical choice of your actions, turn to your spiritual values, spiritual virtues in thoughts, words, and deeds, the whole personality. That's what I appreciate about, I think we're getting to that. Nebuchadnezzar loves the Tsar is one of the words that aspirant Sarah emphasized in his writing. Nebuchadnezzar loves the Tsar. This is innate. This is not Nebuchadnezzar has to try to love a Tsar. This is not our physicality, has to work at loving a Tsar. No, Nebuchadnezzar loves a Tsar. This is so our physicality. This is like how it is. This is how it's supposed to be. This is the easy part. It's not so easy for us because the mind has been so tainted with ignorance and egoism. So that turning towards that in a moment, stopping and doing it. So I know I suggested some exercises for you, but I don't know if I'd suggested this one. So what I would suggest is set your alarm on your phone, like do it like 5 times a day. And I don't know, like my phone, I can like have it actually speak what the alarm is, which sometimes if you work and all of that, you may not be able to do that. So maybe I record an ohm or something, and I have like depends on your day and who you're around, but you can have like a little few secret codes or type of music that comes on or something, or just set it however, and just put in when it goes off, that for how many ever breaths you want, 1 breath, 2 breaths. You're going to stop unless like of course you're driving, you're doing something that's an emergency, something you're going to get injured. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you're writing something, you're typing something. We're talking about you are you know cooking, or something where you can take a stop and just you can put your hand on your heart, or just 2 breaths, nukasar, nukasar. So that's the assignment. And the point of this assignment is just to see if for you to recognize if when your alarm goes off, if you ever feel you're too busy to take 2 breaths with Nukasar. Like if you feel like, oh, I gotta do, oh, that's what I want you to notice. Or if you're able to stop and patiently do 2 breaths, Nukasar. And to practice doing and if you can do 2 breaths, do 5 breaths. Because the point is like when we learn, they tell you this in psychologists, and these psychologists in here, you're welcome to share. But when you are learning any like kind of skills, and maybe they do this like in business schools and things like that too, but I haven't attended any of those. But when you're learning any type of skills, The time to practice it is when things are cool. Like when if you go to marriage counseling and stuff and it's like it practice it when you're not having a fight, having good communication, using your communication tools, when things are not heated. Because if you do that, you're starting to wire the system, and also you're starting to develop that dispassion. This is the development of dispassion and detachment also. You're turning away from something that you want your passion wants to flow to, your negative passion, are you passion? And you're saying, no, that's not how I want it to go down. That's not what I want to do anymore. I don't want to live that way anymore. You're not suppressing it. You're stopping it, but you're not suppressing it. You're recognizing that that is like, like all of the teachings in a moment, like just come to make into you to make that decision. Like just, uh, no, this is not what I want. I want the mystical path. It's hard, but that's what I want. So when you do these disciplinary, like just, set your phone and you stop whatever you're doing and take those breaths. It's like preparing you that when the challenge does come, when the situations that do come to eat the heart out and the emotions are there, and it's so hard to because the hormones are going, the energy's there, the energy needs to be dissipated, that you're going to dissipate it by using the mind to think of like the opposite, which is you're going to be pulling it out of your spiritual nature. And in using the mind to think of the opposite, first you're first of all you're like thinking of, you're naming whatever it is, the negative are you, uh the quality, the negative quality, you're naming that, and then you have to find the opposite, the virtue. So it's like allowing the mind, the brain, to start back working, getting the gray matter working, as Seba would say, get things churning again, because the shem shuts down the higher parts of the brain that has to do with impulsivity. So the very impulse control you're trying to utilize, or to you want to come online, that's being suppressed by the heavy emotions. So yeah, let's keep going. I think I have it coming up. So aspirant Sarah says, Nebahet is the quality of devotion in all life, which is expressed in its highest degree through the emotion of love. Nebahet loves Asar. In other words, mortality desires immortality, the freedom of the soul. So that's what we're exploring with the images here. And I have a note here, this is innate. You're not working for it. Like it feels like you have to like, oh, I got to turn, stop the, no, but you're not working to cultivate the virtues. Really, you are, but it's the Seha, the Shem, the Set, the impure. That's what you're really working um, to avoid, to remove, to eliminate. That's the obstacle. You're not working for the Gur, the serenity. The serenity is already there. If you remove the Shem, the serenity expresses. So the Seha, the Shem, the Set, that impurity, really, if you're able to turn or not, it's a reflective of the state of your relationship with Asar. It's not reflecting at that moment. It's not reflecting your relationship with the outer situation, especially if there's a person involved in there. It's not reflecting how you react in that moment. If you react with that passion and you're not able to calm yourself even before it comes out, or even after it comes out, turn to your Asar nature internally. That is not about anything outside of you or with your own personality, your own internal process. That's about uh, you have not practiced enough. Your steady disciplines are not strong enough. You're not convinced enough. You're not even like in the disciplinary stage. There's still doubts. You haven't accepted that you have this innate divine nature, Asar. It's having the faith in yourself to act with wisdom. That's still coming along. It's still a little bit shaky, and that's okay to recognize that all these things are still a work. Work needs to be done. It's okay to represent, not okay to be yourself about it, but okay to recognize it. It's humility. That it's just a phase you're going through. And this phase, you just continue to do those turnings whenever you can, as much as you can, make those little turns. And eventually, yeah, that will become the habit of the physical body mind. And then the mind body will be in harmony with your soul nature. And the virtues will express spontaneously without having to put forth like so much effort in the mind body aspect of the personality. And the framework we use, the Rusher, recognizing the universal spiritual reality, which Seba related ethical conscience as recognizing the universal spiritual reality as a basis to act with truth. And that's where I get the Rusher and the Rushrat from, the acronyms. So this is recognizing the universal spiritual reality and recognizing you're it. It's not just like it's out there. This is the universe. There, the universe is like, fingers pointing back at you too. And I am it as well. So let me see what I put here. A basis of virtuous approaches to interactions, even as one has to resolve an external situation that may involve even holding others accountable, because you need to have something done by them or through them or with them that is part of it's necessary for the practical reality. So that still may happen. Sejam Moped at the same time says, remember Shai and Renanet. Remember, are you? Your are you? They have are you. Just the way that, the most highest, bestest sage, the most wonderful sage that you can think of with the most spiritual powers cannot come in front of you and say, hey, you are a Sar Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, cleanse your are you now. Don't be upset anymore. Don't eat your heart out ever again because I've told you that, right? It's not going to work because the are you cleansing is a process. It takes time, even when you know about it. Even when you know about it. What about in your lifetimes before you knew about it, when it was just an automatic reaction? So why would you expect anyone else to really be able to control themselves? People do because they have certain cultural, processes and setups of certain secular levels of ma'at. And so even in this society, certain norms that we go by. And so, people can control themselves to some degree. But when they are in their moment and their RE comes out, it's no different than when you're in your moment and your RE comes out and you're not able to discern and you're not able to make that decision between, Shem, the ego personality impure set, and Asar, your universal soul nature. It's not so easy. So yeah, remember that there's all of this Shai and Ren in it. There's a cause and effect for everything. It's not blame. Cause and effect is not blame. Just saying that you've had lots of practice of being Shem personality, so it's gonna take a little work to kind of erase all of that because many people are very proficient at that, pros at that. When you meet someone who's not enlightened, you're meeting their are you. Sejam Moped said that. I don't know if you all remember that from previous studies of Sejam Moped. So that's what is going to be expressed in. And they're meeting your are you. Can you see your are you? Can you see their are you? Can they see your are you? Can they see their are you? No. So
Would you say,
people
Baja?
go ahead.
I was just going to say with that point that it brought to mind the image that you had shared with two people coming at meeting each other at the airport with a bag of luggage, both having a bag of luggage, and you don't know what's in that luggage. It could be gold and it could be poop. You don't know what is in there. It's
But I love you and I wanna marry you and I spend my whole life with you. Or I wanna have you as my child. I don't know what luggage you're bringing with you, but I just wanna have you as my child, right? We humans do that, right? We we don't if we don't know about the RU, and then it's like, "You have changed." "No, my luggage has always been with me. The same bag I brought with me from the time we met. It's always been here, right here." "You just
It's
never looked." "Well, I didn't even know it was buried underneath that. It was buried deep. I didn't even know it was there.
I didn't put that in there.
I didn't put that there. It doesn't belong to me. I'm a czar."
Tough.
Do it. Thanks for the little skit. So this is like why, patience, forgiveness, understanding, compassion, even as we have to, others have to hold us responsible. I don't like, we have to, when I say that, I mean, like, we have to deal with whatever needs to be done in the practical reality. But the whole aspect of how we make each other feel and how we treat each other, like we are like poopling, like, James Beckett said, is, that's our dysfunction as terms of turning to Asar or turning to Shem. We can have discernment, which means like we're judging other people. We have to make sense of things and what this is and what that person is about to do. But the discernment is always keeping the sense that Shai and Ren in it. Sage Menmupa says, just don't forget that too. Don't forget our you. And just keep in mind that, this is all a universal soul reality. This is all pure consciousness. And it's just this whole weird scenario that has happened here with, minds and personalities and egoism and stuff. Okay, I'm not going to figure it all out in the moment. I just know that the most important thing for me is to stay true to my heart in this moment. So, and like how parents say, like, well, you're the older child, you should know better. Kind of like, well, you're the mystical initiate. You say this is what you wanted to do. So if the two persons are there and one is acting egoistic and you're the mystical initiate, yeah. Your Asar nature is like there going like, come on, don't take the bait, don't take the bait. No, turn to me, turn to me. Oh no, oh no, no, no. Oh, I'm being metaphorical, but because that's what the urging is once you put yourself on the mystical path. You're not like a regular personality. You're cultivating your own deeper relationship with yourself, your deeper essence as you understand it through the teachings, as you go through the different levels of understanding and experiences and practice of the disciplines. You keep cultivating that. And it requires you, because I like the ocean metaphor also for this, because it's like it makes it seem how ridiculous this is. Like if you're the ocean and you rise up in one wave and you're rising up in another wave, like personality. What would you think, like if you go to the ocean and you see two waves beating each other up, going, I hit you, you're different than me, you're not the same as me. Like we go like, whoa, like you're all water and you're all the ocean. It doesn't make sense. But essentially, that's kind of what humans do. So this image here was the one I showed last week. We ended or with a reflection meditation on that, it's one Asar, it's one universal soul. And so even though we talk about individuated souls, like a little piece of Asar, you can think of it as like in each one of us, is not really, it's the whole of Asar that we are in. So many of us grow up in Christianity, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's that golden rule. Yeah, it's kind of like a mystical, literal aspect to it. And your mission as the mystical initially to use your saw, your understanding with feeling, and your eye of intuitional capacity. You may not have the full eye of intuitional realization of a set, but Haru has the intuitional capacity Your third eye cultivation to see, and sa to understand and feeling. Imba paneter. Always in the presence of the divine, right here, right now. Asar, me, and you, and recognize the spiritual reality. And just can just take a moment just to kind of. So even as you discern between me and between me and there are you aspects, that's the flail. So right, the flail separates the seed from the shaft. So ampu is discernment, but asar itself, inherent in the asar nature, is discernment. What is real? What is the seed? What is the truth? What is real and what is not? We don't have to like worry, like if I let them off the hook, something's and like no, it's the worry is not them. Because anyway, you know Shine Renanet and you know Ma'at, you know that no one gets away with anything. Um, this is a mystical my test, my mystical school challenge to see if I can go beyond the earthly limitations to have Nebuchadnezzar, limitless, boundless, Sa, understanding, and intuitional capacity, vision. All are me, all are within me. I recognize universal spiritual reality, and I recognize that I am that universal spiritual reality. Now I want to act with that recognition of the universal spiritual reality. And when I do that, that's when I'm acting out of the truth of my true nature to the level I understand it and I express it. So I put here the golden rule. And then on this side, I have there's also the Nagamati library. I think Sama talks about it in the book, Mystical Journey from Jesus to Christ. And in that book, the Gospel of Thomas, which is like the mystical kind of scriptures of Christianity, Jesus said, love your friends or love your brother. Someplace it says, like your own soul. Right? When we say sen or senti to each other, really sen and senti feeling, even though we may not say it to everyone else, it's that feeling should be sen and senti to everyone because we're all sen and senti in the soul, right? That's why Seba said use the co-soul ide sometimes, metaphorically. When we think of our family or friends, to recognize that they have their own path in life, they have their own spiritual, and they have their own soul awareness. This is why, like, we don't have to feel bad for them. Like sometimes parents have to watch children go through difficulties. Children have to watch parents go through difficulties. All of that, brothers and sisters, is that they are never without soul. No one is ever without soul. The soul is always there, facilitating. The Nag Hammadi is in Upper Egypt. That's where the Gnostic Gospels were found. A critical choice, thoughts, words, deeds. What do you want to affirm? What or who do you want to reinforce or cultivate? The what relates to the ego personality, the who relates to the universal soul nature, right? So this one image has Ampu, the discernment. And we know Ampu is the child. When Nebuchadnezzar turns to Asar, um, Ampu is born. When your sense of physicality now becomes focused towards your uniting with your soul, what's going to happen in your mind intellect? It's like you're going to be able to develop that discernment. Life changes. You're not going to be able to see it the same way. Like instead of like judging people is when you like very critical and and you think you know people. Well, this person did that because of that. This person is doing that, or you like, but you don't apply. You can't judge a book by its cover, even though you've encountered that many, many times, right? Like you meet people and they're just opposite of what you think they should be, are like, you see people in relationships and you say like, how does that, like it's the universe is constantly like presenting that. You cannot judge somebody by how they present. They have positive and negative are you. So that discernment is being able to size and sum up things as we do in practical reality, but with that recognition, with our ethical conscience, recognizing the whole mystical reality, the spiritual path, the mystical path, the universal, all of that. And that will allow you to have a different relationship with life because you're not needing or wanting anything from anyone. You're not like asking anyone to love you or to give you your security or to belong, all the aspects of the personality that have these needs that come when you're related with the ego personality, that sense of egoism and that sense of self that is like lacking. You don't have those issues in asar, in your asar nature. This image down here, I showed it a long time ago. The choice. This is another way to say the choice. I've shown this one. Um, Eating one's heart out, and the weighing of the heart seen in the judgment hall, and having a light heart, a heart as light as a feather. And that's always the choice we're walking. And it's not a choice with the outer world, it's a choice with our inner world, with our inner soul world. It's our relationship to our deeper nature. As we understand it, at whatever level we understand it, as we move through the teachings, getting deeper and deeper to that experience and understanding of who we are. It's going to keep evolving, of course. That's the whole point of it. So these are two paths, and this one, the road here has uh, virtuous qualities: truth, love, compassion, forgiveness, humility, patience, kindness, generosity, self-control, discernment, peace, gratitude, contentment, faith, courage, integrity, service, detachment, inner silence, unconditional love, seeing the divine in all, surrender to the divine will, oneness, and consciousness. And then the other one, the path to the impure ego personality: violence, anger, hate, jealousy, greed, pride, arrogance, deceit, manipulation, control, cruelty, laziness, impatience, gluttony, apathy, rigidity, self-pity, victim consciousness, materialism, competition, comparison, seeking approval, subtle superiority, egoic spirituality, attachment to outcomes, need for recognition. So this proverb is in the Egyptian Proverbs book by Seba, Jumu'at Ashby. There are two roads traveled by humankind: those who seek to live ma'at and those who seek to satisfy their animal passions. So that's the choice, the discernment. And so Aspirant Sarah's submission, this is another excerpt. And if he's on, he's welcome to share. This is my takeaway, how I'm understanding what is being said here. Well, how I take what he's expressing here is the challenge when we are in these situations where the frustration arises, as a spiritual student, being guided by the teachings, and still, so we're being guided by the teachings, we're trying to stay true to the teachings, but then still we are trying to participate in a very challenging, egoistically triggering world. And it becomes very challenging to make that choice, especially in the heat of the moment when whatever's going on before us and the trigger is there and the heat is rising. What happens to the teachings if the Shem rises? They go out the window. And the brain shuts down its higher centers, its thinking centers, the cognitive centers. So the body shuts down because the body's going like, oh, we're going to fight now. We're not going to think about this. So the automatic amygdala processes come online. Yeah, so there's going to be no thinking. There's just like reactivity here. There's no discernment. And it's this is how I take this section of what he's saying. It's challenging, and doubt comes up there, and uncertainty. Like you feel like you can't grasp the essence of the sage's teaching. So there's doubt and uncertainty to try to grasp the essence of the teachings in those moments. And it's a struggle, the struggle to simply grasp a thought. And that is very frustrating, and it's true. Sources of frustration. So there are two roads traveled by humankind: those who seek to live ma'at and those who seek to satisfy their animal passions. And the aspirant is looking towards asar, and that's where we have to look. And this is like critical in all the images, like the turning towards asar. We want to think that the what we're trying to do is like be where asar is and discover a oneness with asar. Yes, but no, for an aspirant at this level of the teachings that the myth is describing, the nuking correctly, the making the turn, this is critical. This is where it happens, because what happens when you make that turn to your soul awareness, when you make the turn to keeping your inner serenity and not getting all revved up in the heat? Well, in the physical body, your brain doesn't shut down. Its higher prefrontal cortex and the thinking, reasoning centers flow. So the mind stays open and expanded. So your mind can grasp those teachings. And if the mind grasps the teachings, then it can also direct it through the physical body, because the physical body is going to be open to be processing and receiving the instruction from the higher mind to act in accordance with that. The prefrontal cortex is going to stay open. It can process like, oh, we are not going to engage that action. We are actually going to think about something related to our teachings right now. We're going to grab our hekau. We're going to repeat our hekau. We are going to take a deep breath in this moment and breathe. All of that, all of the tools that you use. I'm going to think of Herubehudet and, visualize that. All of those tools, they will come flooding from your unconscious, your subconscious, your conscious into the physical body, and you'll gain the insights. The insights will come, is what I'm sharing, I guess. What to do in that moment, how to act in that moment, how to act with truth in that moment, according to your level of where you are in the teachings, will flow. So that's why this is so critical. You don't have to go all the way to Sar and become with us. It's the turning. Stop the seha. Stop turning away to the Shem. Stop that turning away. And imba netter. It's not even a turning. We talked about that. It's just recognition that right here now, you're pure consciousness. You're a Sar. Your soul, your spirit, whatever name, however you want to phrase it. You're a Set. You're Nebehet, your Ampu, whatever name you want to use. That's where the magic occurs, in that moment. That's where the beginning of the magic occurs. Remember the proverb? There's a proverb. Mastery of the passions allows the divine thoughts in action. There's some reference in Aspirant Sarasa struggles. I added of Shem to simply grasp divine thought. Turning to Ger, choosing serenity, calm mind over Shem, heated mind. And the proverb says, mastery of the passions allows divine thoughts and actions. So if we want to have divine thought and then to be able to act in a divine way, in those moments, we have to stop seha. We have to stop turning away. We have to stop the egoism outflow. We have to stop the eating the heart. We have to freeze. We have to stop the words. We have to stop whatever actions we're doing. And we have to stop the thoughts. And, whether it's, again, a breath, whether it's the hekau, whatever it is, a proverb, a reflection, whatever, an image, a visualization, that's what has to happen in the moment. Otherwise, the doubt and the confusion, the not being able to grasp will occur. We'll be lost in the land of the path of Seth. So the struggles of Shem to simply grasp a divine thought. So this is the key. This is a hack. This is the trick. This is the mystical, hidden mysteries. This is like what the sages whisper, or what Jehuti has hidden in places. That a key important feature for aspirants at this level of the teachings of that we're describing in this particular series related to the specific phase of the myth that it's expressing. Remembering your deeper essence, what you're being taught about yourself, what you're understanding about your deeper nature, and choosing to have faith in the teachings, have faith in the teacher, have faith in your own wisdom to act with truth, and just going there, doing there, irrespective of what is going on around you. Like, of course, I'm not talking about anything, dangerous, physically dangerous and harmful and things like that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, like, psychological, psycho-spiritual, psycho-emotional things that are going on, interactions with other people, the situations, yourself. This is what, to strive for, is that turning your attention. Key to next steps, intentionally, with conscious awareness, right? So mind, body, together working on this. You're sublimating the egoism, right? By making that, you're cultivating your, like, set has to now basically sublimate to the Asar, to the Haru, Asar nature. And you're doing it consciously. You're turning to choose the calm. It allows you to gain insights, to act with truth. The Rushvat acronym, to your level of Sa, to your level of understanding of that truth. So mastery of passions allows, and I guess Seba added the Sa'ang, the divine grace flow of divine thought and action. Sa'ang is the divine grace protection energy that flows from Ra through the Netzeru to you, to give you an understanding of your deeper nature. That will flow in that moment. But when one masters the passions, and master here in this particular aspect of the teachings, level of the teachings, means like this: stop sayas, stop turning away, as Sage Menamo puts it. And then the divine thought will flow, also your virtues, your inspirations, your insights. Okay, well, I didn't get to the mod precepts. I guess we'll do that next time. On Thursday, our next class on Thursday. Okay. Making the tough but critical choice of your actions. Turn to your spiritual values, spiritual virtues. So we've done that. This turning to the divine Asar, soul in your Abneter, Asar in our framework, is turning towards Gur. That is, it's serenity, Gur, serenity. That is also means turning towards discernment, the truth versus the untruth, the real from the transient. Keeping the mind calm in the direction of serenity of Gur allows the flow of Sa'ang, divine grace, and virtuous qualities from the soul. The Jehuti wisdom capacity opens up and flows. The Aset intuitional capacity opens up and flows. And these calm the excess emotional surges and the surge in energy. Thus, one experiences the capacity to have right thinking and right feeling and promote right action. And then Adira just talked about in the physical body also how it trickles down. So our Nukin correctly framework, Nuk Heru, of the mystical lineage of Asar, right? When you turn towards the divine, so that imbaneter, in the presence of divinity, you're recognizing that you are that Asar. You are that divine presence. And then when you act, then the Rashrat, recognition of the universal spiritual reality as a means to act with truth, the acronym. And in the stopgap, right, we have the gap part. The G is gentle inquiry. The A is like a reflection on what action you want to take. And it's not necessarily only like, what am I going to do outward, but the internal action. What is it that you want to understand about what happened and how you're going to be, how you're going to act with Ma'at RE, how are you going to act with the recognition of the universal spiritual reality and use that as a base to act with truth. That's what the act part. And then the P is like actually proceeding to resolve the time and space worldly issue if it needs that external resolution. So, and also this turning to Asar, the Imbapanenter, is also a part of the action, the AP aspect in the GAT. It's the Matian Matari action. Because right there, you're not solving the outer situation, but this is like the inner Matari action. It's the righteous action you're taking in that moment. Action, Matari, inner recognition of the universal spiritual reality, the attitude you want to go forward with as you handle the practical reality. That attitude of, recognizing the universal spiritual reality. Proceed with peace of heart to address, resolve, handle the practical situation and circumstances if it needs to be addressed, as if you're dealing with your sen, as if you're dealing with your senti, your soul brother, your soul sister, literally, mystically, literally. So I think we will leave it here for tonight. And then we'll start with the precepts, the reflections and the precepts based on aspirant Sarah's submission. Anyone has any comments? I asked Tim's Matinu Arit, who is on here, if she would be able to give us a special. She has a song. It's called Two Roads. And if she, I just asked her just at the beginning of class if she would be able to sing that. And I think she indicated she would. So if you would like to do that, I think we'll.
Puja.
Puja.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment that I remember many years when I was still dealing with a lot of trauma. I would just say, I would shout out, I would just have one positive thought, just one positive thought. I know it would be all right. And it took me years to be able to call up a positive thought, like in the moment. So it was really refreshing to have this presentation this evening. Dua.
Dua.
What do you want most in life? What are you truly looking? What is there in this life to fulfill your deepest longings and desires? If what you say had already been found, you would not be hearing the message of the sound. When you have grown tired of lies, illusions, and betrayals, you begin to hunger for something substantial and real. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. Forsake the world of human experience. Realize you're more than mortal human existence. Beyond the physical lives the eternal. The goal of all good unity of body, mind, and spirit. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. There are two roads: the path of ignorance and the path of wisdom. There are two roads. Do a Seba ma, do a Seba Djas, do a ma'at.
You, Shamsarit. Very beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to just text you just before the meeting.
Grateful that I was available.
So with that, we will conclude. We'll have that be our conclusion for tonight. Anyone else has anything before we go? I will, I guess I will play the song Do Us Our to close it out as well. So we will meet again on Thursday, and then we should be able to start with the Ma'at precept reflections as they relate to the post. That's up.
Much to a Seba Djas. That's how.
Djas and Mary said, me and Senti. Brother, beloved brother, come to your sisters. Dua Asar, Merit Asar. Adorations to Asar, beloved Asar. Dua Asar, Nehast Asar. Adorations to Asar. Come back to us, be resurrected, Asar. Dua Asar, Unefer Netera. Adorations to Asar, the beautiful existence. Dua Asar, Abdu. Adorations to Asar, the innermost being, Abdu. Dua Asar, Nebjeta. Adorations to Asar, Lord of forever. Dua Asar, Tutenhe. Adorations to Asar, King of eternity.
Dua Asar Unavenetera. Dua Asar Eradu. Dua Asar Dua Asar Sudene.
Me and Senti. Sen, married Sen.
Everyone, let's have peace and blessings.